I used to point the finger, and you know what they say about pointing the finger. When you're pointing the finger, how many fingers do you have pointing back at you? You have 3. And so clearly I was in the wrong lane, thinking that the person that needed to change was my husband, that the person that needed to grow and shift was my husband. I honestly was a little self-righteous in my journey of spirituality, thinking that I was doing all of this inner work, and that I had made the changes, and I was so evolved. And I was quickly brought back down to earth, and given the realization that it takes 2 people to create an environment, it takes 2 people to create a relationship, it takes 2 people to tango. And if I'm in a relationship or in a dynamic or anything in my life that isn't feeling inspiring or fulfilling or just the intimacy that I'm craving, then the person that I need to look at is myself. If you are in a relationship and you're desiring compatibility and partnership and inspiration and love and connection and intimacy, but sometimes are stuck feeling, come on, guy, get it together, then this episode is for you. Today, we're going to be talking about Enliven the King in Him. I'm your host, Jacqueline Page, and welcome to the Embodied Mother podcast. I am very excited about this episode. It is one that has been on my heart for a while, and I honestly did not think I was going to record it. I feel like I touched upon relationships and partnerships a little bit in the motherhood episode, and really taking accountability for our actions. And so I felt like, check, it's done. I've touched upon it and we can move on. Well, God had other plans and really placed upon my heart to share this episode on enlivening the king within him. And honestly, I am not an expert at this. I feel like I'm consistently growing. I feel like I am consistently learning how to communicate better, to show up differently as a wife who inspires and invites and evokes change. And I feel like I'm growing every single day in this. So I think that is why I try to rush it along. But here I am showing up exactly where I am because this message was obviously meant to be shared with all of you. And I have a tender place in my heart for this episode because I once was in a place where I desired a dynamic, a marriage that I wasn't currently living in. And I was the type of woman thinking that grass is greener, thinking that I am not the problem, and thinking that if only he would change. And I laugh because it's so humbling. I used to point the finger, and you know what they say about pointing the finger. When you're pointing the finger, how many fingers do you have pointing back at you? You have 3. And so clearly I was in the wrong lane, thinking that the person that needed to change was my husband, that the person that needed to grow and shift was my husband. I honestly was a little self-righteous in my journey of spirituality, thinking that I was doing all of this inner work, and that I had made the changes, and I was so evolved. And I was quickly brought back down to earth. And given the realization that it takes 2 people to create an environment. It takes 2 people to create a relationship. It takes 2 people to tango. And if I'm in a relationship or in a dynamic or anything in my life that isn't feeling inspiring or fulfilling or just the intimacy that I'm craving, then the person that I need to look at is myself. I've said this message multiple times in various different episodes. So if you're new here, I'm going to share it again. And if you are an avid listener, I think it is helpful to hear things a multitude of times to really sink in. Is that if you are unhappy with any dynamic of your reality, the person that you need to get curious about is the person looking back in the mirror. That is who cultivated the life that you're living in. That is who curated through habits, choices, lifestyle, the life that you are living. And if it's not resonating with your heart, if it's not resonating with you, then start to take audit on the shifts that need to be changed, on the things that can be let go of, the clutter and the chaos that can just be disentangled from your current reality, and just begin to think about what it is that you want, and then begin to make choices that inspire that reality, that inspire your heart, that inspire you, and begin to continue on the path of that cultivation. So first, want to just even bring recognition to a dynamic of maybe like tension where you feel like you're butting heads, where you feel out of sync with one another. I have recognized that this is when hearts for each other have just been closed off from the pain that has been caused in the current dynamic in the relationship. And if your common way of addressing your husband is through nagging or criticizing or pointing out faults or the things that he's not doing, I'm going to let you know that that's a big part of the problem. Because every time you're doing this, you are castrating him. I'm not going to shy away from putting it bluntly. You are cutting off his balls every time that you redirect him in this way. And it's deflating and it's disempowering. And what is going to happen is that he is going to close his heart off from you because he doesn't want to feel disrespected and disempowered every time he's engaging with you. And you are beginning to close off your heart to the dynamic where you feel unheard and unseen and unsupported. And so you can begin to see how the gap between your hearts begins to grow. And as you allow this gap to grow, it can almost feel daunting or overwhelming to look at your current reality and think of, how did we get here? How did we get to this point? Is it even possible to get back to a place that feels loving and supportive? Is it possible to even go back to how we used to be? Or actually, maybe that wasn't even where you're wanting to go, that you're really desiring a relationship that is thriving and connected and intimate. And maybe you haven't ever really felt that with your husband. And what I want to tell you is you are not alone. You are not alone listening to this. You are not alone in that desire. You are not alone in wanting something connecting and deeper and intimate. You are not alone. I can guarantee you that if not every woman, almost every woman that is in a relationship desires that same thing. And what I've also witnessed is we are not taught how to evoke a type of relationship that feels fulfilling, that feels deep and passionate and intimate and connecting. We're not taught these things. We're taught through maybe what was modeled for us growing up. Maybe we are taught through social media, through media, through TV, through our culture, of really modeling a way that is disempowering. Because every time that we share information with our husband that is putting him down or criticizing him or nagging at him and just pointing out his faults, it is creating dissonance and disharmony and disempowerment within your dynamic. Because it's not only disempowering him, it's also disempowering you. Because our divine feminine, like I said, inspires, evokes, invites. But when we are closing off our hearts, we become rigid, we become controlling, manipulative, and it's all through a sense of false safety. I recognize that when I'm in a space where I'm trying to control, here's the word trying to control someone or a situation or a circumstance, I'm giving myself a false sense of safety. I am trying to control the dynamic so that I'm not having to feel the deep pain within my heart if it goes a certain way that I'm not wanting it to go. That, my friends, is not empowering for anybody. Because if I'm in a space of rigidity and control and manipulation, I'm not living in my divine feminine. I'm living with a closed heart. And that is a very dangerous waters to live in as a woman. When we begin to close our hearts off to love, to pain, really, we're not wanting to feel the pain of the choices and the actions and the habits that are currently happening in our dynamic. So instead of finding a way that communicates our needs and our desires in a way where our partner can open-heartedly receive them, we begin a dynamic of controlling. And it is never helpful, or like, we cannot control what other people do. We cannot control that. We can try. We can try to like put our thumb really close down on someone, on our partners, on our children, the dynamics around ourselves. But that is not empowerment. That is not empowerment. That is disempowering. That is creating rigidity. That is creating resentment. Because when you demand something of someone, they have two options. Their options is to either resist and do it, or not doing it and like create a barrier. And either one of those is creating anger and resentment towards you. And I mean, think about a moment or a situation where someone was demanding something of you, and your like immediate response to it is like, no, I'm not going to do that. Or I guess I'm going to do that. And now I'm going to be resentful towards you for making me do this, or not making me. I have a choice, but that's how it feels. And so this episode is not going to be about changing your husband. This episode is not going to be about how to create change within him, because like I've mentioned, he is not the one who is creating this dynamic. I mean, yes, he's probably a part of it, but ultimately the way we show up as the divine sovereign woman that we were created to be is what's going to be the empowerment to create and invite change within our home, within ourselves, within our marriage. And it's time for us to take our power back. And in doing so, that also means giving our husbands back their power. Because when we are working in a partnership, we can both be holding power. Because when we're both holding power, think about how much more energy and dynamics and momentum that we have as a unit, as a relationship, to create change within ourselves, to create healing for this world. The way that we show up in our marriage is modeling to our children how to, like, they're being downloaded the codes of what marriage looks like. And so are we modeling to them the way that we would feel proud of them showing up? Or are we showing up and embodying the type of woman that we would feel proud of our son picking for his wife, or for our daughter to embody? Are we like empowering our husband in a way that we would feel proud of for like our daughter to choose someone like that? Those are the kinds of questions that I began to get very curious about, because not only was I having a desire to have deep connection with my husband, I was also recognizing the kinds of patterns that I was living out that my children were witnessing and being shown how to show up for and as. And needless to say, these are a lot of things of like what not to do. And that can feel like, okay, already I know what to do. I know what not to do. But I think it's important to hear these things because it's important to have awareness. I didn't recognize that the way that I talked to my husband was demeaning. It felt like this natural way of being and what I was seeing around me. And what I recognized was I was in rapport with our culture, with the dynamics around me of how we treat men, of the way we talk about men, of the way I talk about my husband, about my son, because words are living prayers. What I say has an impact, whether or not I'm saying it to the person or behind the person's back. What I say has power to create change or to perpetuate patterns and habits. Because if I'm maybe not necessarily nagging at my husband, but if I go to my friends and I'm continuing that same pattern, that is going to affect your dynamic. It's going to be felt. Like I said, words are living prayers. The way we speak about our family members, the way we speak about ourselves, it has an impact. And not only that, like the belief system that we believe about our husband or our children, we are going to be like have this self-fulfilling prophecy of what we say. And so if we believe that our husband is X, Y, and Z, I believe that he I don't even have words because I don't live and operate this way anymore. If I believe, let's just say, a lack characteristic about my husband, this is not one that I've ever experienced, but my husband is always late. He's never on time. I just spoke a truth. And so, am I going to be creating a pattern that makes that statement true? Am I going to be looking for ways to make that true? Because our bodies, our minds, they want to be true. We're going to create the reality around us of what we believe. And so, it's very important to what we say to our partners, to ourselves, even in our own minds, or to our children or about our children. What we say is powerful. And I have chosen to be very intentional about my words, and especially what I say to myself, what I say about my husband, and what I say about my children. Because what kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, or I guess not self, what kind of actualization am I wanting to create out in the world about my husband and my children? And so I began to just shift the narrative. Actually, I don't have to point out all the things my husband doesn't do, because guess what? I wrote down one time when I was just in a moment all of the amazing things my husband does to create and provide for my life, for me to actually live this beautiful life that I have. And it was very humbling to recognize that there would not be a way for me currently to live my life the way it is without my husband. And even when there was a season when we were both working and bringing in money, it was still like we created such a partnership in how we do our day to day, that everything has felt like in sync, like we are together. When we're at home, it's like we're operating as like one unit, and we're not separate and divide and conquer. We are like harmoniously like working together in sync with one another. And I think that is a great place to start, is to just write down every single thing your husband does. I mean, like just from morning to night, what are the things that he does? Not only for you, but for your home, to provide for this life. What does he do for your children? Write all of that down. And the next time you want to complain or to nag, even if it's in your own mind, pull up that list and replace it with something that you are grateful for. I am grateful my husband takes out the trash and I never have to think about an overflowing trash. I am grateful that my husband provides financially for me to be able to stay home and heal and to be with my children. I am grateful, and I could just go on. And not only did I begin to do that within my mind, I began to say those things out loud. I began to speak when I felt appreciation. I began to speak life into my husband and all the things that he does. I began to speak truth and uplift who I see who he is as a man. If I want him to show up as the powerful divine creation that he is, and yet, and every chance that I get, I'm disempowering him, I am not taking action in alignment with a desire that I have. I'm actually inhibiting that desire. And what I have recognized is that very many people are very comfortable where they are. Their nervous system is calibrated to their current reality, and it feels so uncomfortable to move out of that state. It feels uncomfortable to give your husband power. It feels uncomfortable to begin to feel the dynamics shift of how it currently is. It can feel uncomfortable because change requires uncomfortability. And a lot of people aren't willing to go through that uncomfortability to get to the places they want to be. They'd rather just perpetuate the self-fulfilling prophecies of misery and staying where they are and complaining. And because that's easier, I don't have to take self-responsibility for myself. I can just continue to place the blame outside of myself. And so if we, like I know I'm not alone in reading and watching fairy tales growing up, and then growing up thinking, where is my knight in shining armor? Where Where's this fairy tale that I was like promised? Not promised, but you know what I mean? Like, where's this reality? Because I'm not feeling it. And I think that there's so many archetypes that live true in those fairy tales. I believe that boys, young men, they want to defend. They want to live with honor and with duty and integrity. And they want a cause and a purpose to fight for. They want those. It lives innately within them. I see that as I'm raising my son. He will defend me at a drop of a dime. He will go and slay the dragons that are in our path as we're going on an adventure. It is who he is innately. What I've recognized is we program that out of men. And not only do we program that out of men, if we are living in a space where we are nagging, criticizing, complaining, men operate from a single focused. They have a superpower. I don't know if you've ever noticed this. They have this amazing superpower of being able to like hone in on one task at a time, have this superpower like diligence to get it done and stay on task until it is finished. And it's amazing. I've talked to my husband about this all the time. I'm like, I'm in awe of you being able to do that because as a woman, I don't operate that way. And so if they have a single focus and they're able to like have so much focus on one thing, they're either going to be defending you from the world or defending themselves from you. Let that sink in. What are they going to defend themselves? What are they going to defend? Themselves or you? I remember yearning for, like, I just want to be like protected and admired and adorned. And yet the way that I was treating my husband was so disempowering that he was having to defend himself from me. So how could he defend me? How could he protect me when I'm the one he's having to defend himself from? Do you see the shift there? If you want him to be the king of your home and to operate with that power, we have to give the power back. Because as you give the power back to him, he will then feel inspired to protect you. He will feel inspired to support you, to take care of you. The things and the gestures that my husband has done, I feel are like the most romantic gestures that I have just like felt true deep to my core. But whenever I was closed off because I was shielding myself from the pain, I wasn't able to allow those gestures of love to penetrate my heart. I wasn't able to have the deep gratitude and be moved to tears by a gesture my husband does because I was living closed off. And the bigger our walls are up, the more work it is to tear them down. And yes, I'm going to tell you it's work. I'm not going to say it's easy because it is a choice. It is intention. It is devotion and it is discipline. Discipline to not emasculate our husbands and our partners and our sons. Because anytime that we are redirecting, anytime we are trying to shut down an idea, I think mine is better. Anytime we shut down the way our husband does something because we would do it differently, those are all ways that we're just like stripping the power away from him. And when we begin to close ourselves off, it's like we're closing ourselves off not just from the pain, but from all of the beauty, all of the love that is there at our feet, at just like open to us. But are we open to receive it? As women and as the feminine, we are receptive. We are meant to receive bounty and beauty and love. And we're meant to just be in our radiance to receive those things. And so are you, as a woman, even embodying receptivity when something is given to you, when time is gifted to you, when a gift is gifted to you, or a gesture? Are you resistant or are you receptive? These are qualities within ourselves that as we begin to embody and find our own worth within ourselves, our own fulfillment within ourselves, we can begin to receive that from other people. We can begin to let go of the layers of our validation being through our husband's love. Our validation comes from within. My validation comes from my relationship with God, my relationship with myself. And as I deepened that, I saw how I was able to deepen with my husband. And now I feel like I am the queen of our home because I'm operating as the queen of our home. And as I operate as queen and not maiden and princess, I have seen and witnessed the evolution of my husband stepping up as a man, as protector, as king, and allowing him the power to operate as that way in our home. Because when he is defending me from the world, that is how I feel. I feel powerful. I feel protected. I feel like I'm unstoppable. I feel like we're unstoppable as a couple. And then the way that we're showing up as our couple in what we're modeling for our children is priceless. It's priceless. It is worth more than the riches in the world. I feel like the wealthiest woman in the world, the way that my husband tends to my needs, the way that he protects my needs, even from my children. He will like bring his sword and lay it down and push back things that are going to come in the way of me feeling my full vital self. And that has taken me understanding, what do I need to feel radiant and vitality? What do I need to embody these things? And as I began to embody those things and live that way, my husband began to see what I needed to feel my best self. And then he began to bring protection around that. Some of it was asked for. Some of it was just naturally given and witnessed what is there and the opportunities. And so when we can begin to recognize how our micro habits and patterns and behaviors are creating our reality, we can begin to be intentional about the energy that we're pouring out into our husbands, into our families. Is it uplifting? Is it empowering? Is it showing gratitude? Or is it nagging and complaining and criticizing and disempowering? You have a choice. Every day you have a choice. Every moment you have a choice. Every experience is an opportunity. Every experience is an opportunity for you to deepen in your integrity of how you are going to show up as a woman. Do you want to be the queen of your home, or do you want to be the princess? There's archetypes to both of those things if you just like sit and think about that. You want to be a princess? You want to be a queen? You're made for sovereignty. That is not princess level. And so just remember that you're on the same team. You're on the same team. It may feel like you're on opposite sides, but every time you have a conflict, every time you have a circumstance that feels like tension, remember that you're on the same team. So how can you respond in a way that shows your partner you're on this team? I'm on your team. I actually want us to solve this together. I don't want us to be on opposite sides. I want us to be on the same side, working the world, not working at each other. When we stop creating the energy of fighting each other and like addressing the world, you're powerful. The world is limitless. And so the way and the energy that you are pouring into your dynamic is either perpetuating cycles that are keeping you small because you're not willing to recognize your power and to have self-responsibility. That's another thing that I can't miss is when I was so focused on what my husband was doing and his lack and the things that I was wanting him to do, X, Y, and Z, I recognized that was such a distraction from me living my own purpose. It's easier for me to put my eyes on my husband and to focus on him rather than to be like, oh, wow, I'm not living my purpose. I am not stepping into who God divinely created me to be. And that was my way of avoiding all of self-responsibility, all of this of taking ownership. It was easier for me to put my eyes and energy and attention on what my husband's not doing. So let me try to fix him or fix my children instead of looking within, instead of looking in the mirror, instead of looking at the three fingers pointing back at me. That was my way of avoiding. And so I invite you to get curious of your dynamics, not only with your husband, with your relationships around you. What does the thermometer read for the overall arching relationships around you? Are they fulfilling? Are they life-giving? Is there reciprocity within them? Is there intimacy? Do you enjoy them? Do you feel filled up after leaving your dynamics? Or are they draining? Is there a lot of gossiping? Is there a lot of nagging and complaining about their husbands? Is this like a dynamic where you get together and you complain about your husbands? All of that is a mirror for the openness of your heart, of the self-responsibility that you're willing to see within yourself. It's your invitation. I know this was kind of like a come to Jesus talk with you, this episode, but I'm telling you that it is so important that if you are living in a marriage that is different from what your heart is desiring, the change needs to come within you. The change needs to come within you. Begin to take audit of how you spend your energy and the words that you speak about yourself, about your husband, to your husband. Take audit of that. And anytime that you want to complain, criticize, take it to your journal. Say it there instead. Okay? And replace that with something that your husband has done that you are grateful for. And continue that pattern. Could we take it to God instead? Could we pray about our husband's habits instead of complaining and nagging about them? Could we actually, the thing that has really evoked change within me is I began to pray to God to shift the change within me so that I am a wife that is evoking the change that I desire because I've made that change within myself first. Show me the changes within me, God, so that I can be the wife that inspires my husband through the space of love to want to change for himself. Make the change within me first. That is where the power lies. The only person that you have power over changing is yourself. So take your power back. Power back to the people. Power back to your family. And you will quickly see how this energy that you expanded out of complaining and nagging and criticizing was wasting your time and your energy. And when you begin to fill that back up with empowerment, you begin to feel rejuvenated and revitalized, and you begin to feel more radiant in yourself, and you have energy to shine light on the beautiful things that your husband is providing for you. The duty that he does going to work every day for your family, the honor that you have supporting you, the integrity in which he embodies and lives with, those are the things that are going to bring power back to your family. If you want a king, you got to act like the queen that is going to evoke that from him. It's time for you to stop being a princess and to step up and to be a queen. That helps evoke prince to king, knight to king. There's so much more into the dynamics in the heart of our own desires, our desires as women, the hearts of a man to know. And I think that this conversation feels complete. And maybe in another episode, we'll dive into deeper. But right now, the curiosity of how we are expending our time and our energy and our words, the curiosity of the self-responsibility of taking an audit of the dynamics around ourselves. And if we are living in a relationship that is different from what our heart is desiring, look at the 3 fingers pointing back at you. Know what I mean? Because the type of intimacy and love and devotion waiting for you on the other side is priceless. Like I said, it is invaluable how I feel. I feel like the richest woman in the world. I feel so protected and loved and adorned and cherished. I feel so cherished. And that just even feeling that is like fuel to my heart to want to keep supporting my husband and being in devotion to him the way that he like serves me and serves our family. It's powerful. It's valuable. And I want this for you. I want it for every woman out there. and it's possible. We got to tap into our hearts. We got to let go of control. We got to look back and see what are we avoiding within ourselves and allow the shifts to change. Allow the heart to open. Allow the walls to cascade down off of you and into embracing the love, the beauty, and the bounty that is all around you. Can you receive it? That's a simple question. Can you receive it? Are you open to it? That is all for now. I'm sending you with so much love and beauty and blessings. Until next time, my friends.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. It has truly been an honor to walk alongside you and share my journey of motherhood with you. If you feel connected with this episode, I would just so love if you could leave a rating and a review. This really helps the podcast grow so that it can reach other mothers and women along this journey. And I always love hearing your takeaways and your interactions with this podcast. So if you ever feel called to share on Instagram and social media, be sure to tag me at the.embodied.mother so I can connect with you and your takeaways from this podcast. Until next time, I'm sending you with so much love and blessings on your journey in this life.